Good morning. As always, I like to tell you how much I miss you all, because I do, and I can't wait till we're back in the classroom. I hope you are all staying healthy and just getting some time to do some things you enjoy. So today we're going to continue graphing quadratic functions and equations, but we're going to look at a different form. We're going to look at vertex form. Remember in the last lesson we did standard form. And in order for a quadratic to be in standard form, we have ax squared plus bx plus c. That's the form it has to be in. That's when it's helpful to use standard form. Today we're going to look at this form, and this form is vertex. It's f of x equals a times the difference of x minus h squared plus k. Okay, what do I know from my a? My a tells me the direction the parabola opens. If a is positive, it's going to open up. If a is negative, it's going to open down. So that's all that a does, is determine the direction it opens. The beauty of vertex form is it basically gives you your vertex for your parabola. And that's huge and helpful because it's also going to help you with your axis of symmetry. The thing you have to know when you identify the value of h and k, you're going to take the opposite of what is there. So we'll talk about what that means in a minute. And you'll keep whatever k is. Okay, so that's kind of an ordered pair. Take the opposite of h and keep k. What does that mean? Well, let's look at number 1, and that'll help us. Find the vertex and a. In number 1, we have f of x equals 2 times the difference of x minus 2 squared plus 4. Okay, the vertex, again, it is hk. Where are we getting our h from? H comes from right here. That's h. Where are we getting k from? That's our k. Well, when we write our vertex, I had just told you over here, I'm going to highlight it, that it's the opposite of h, keep k. Okay? So what does that mean? If h is negative 2, I'm doing the opposite. That's 2. If I keep k, k is 4, so I keep the 4. Where does my a come from? My a is what's in front of the parentheses. A is 2. The parabola opens up. Let's look at the second one. F of x equals negative 4 times the sum of x and 3 squared minus 5. Let's identify my h. This is h. Identify my k. This is k. The vertex says take the opposite of h. If I have positive 3, it's negative. And keep k. That's negative 5. Where do I get my a? It's what's in front of the parentheses. A equals negative 4. This is going to open down. Put the word open in front of it. Okay, let's look at the third one. F of x equals the negative of x minus 1 squared minus 2. We're going to identify h. This is my h. This is my k. When I write my vertex, it's the opposite of negative 1, which is 1, but I keep k, which is negative 2. Okay, my a comes from what's in front. Well, the only thing I see in front of there is a negative, so it's understood that it's a negative 1. Let me fix that 2. It looks kind of crazy. Okay, this also would open down. Okay, so now we're ready to actually graph one. Example, graph the function f of x equals, I'm changing that. I don't want you to use that one. I'm going to give you a different function. I want you to use f of x equals x minus 2 squared minus 3. I can't see that squared. All right, that's your new function, and it might be correct on your, I can't remember. So if it is, you're good to go. If it's not, rewrite it. Okay, so let's go to the box. It says to identify a first. Well, a is what's in front of the parentheses. What's there? You might say nothing, but nothing means an understood 1. So a equals 1. That determines that it's positive and our parabola opens up. Our parabola opens up, that means the lowest point, the vertex, will be the minimum point. So we've identified 3 things already. The axis of symmetry, we're going to skip for a minute. That's going to be x equals h. And once we find the vertex, it's easy to plug in. Let's go back up to our function. F of x equals x minus 2 squared minus 3. Here's our h. Here's our k. When we do our vertex, it's the opposite of h. If it's negative 2, it becomes 2. And then it's k. That's negative 3. Remember, vertex is hk. Now that we know our h, we go back up here to axis of symmetry. It says x equals h. Well, h is 2. And we got the 2 and we did it. Okay, it's an equation. X equals 2. Now we're ready to do our y-intercept. How do we do that? We plug 0 in for x. And we're going to plug that back into the function. I'm going to rewrite it down here. There's a little more room. F of x equals the difference of x and 2 squared minus 3. So the f of 0 equals 0 minus 2 squared minus 3. What is 0 minus 2? It's negative 2. When I square a negative, it becomes positive. So I get 4 minus 3, or 1. The f of 0 equals 1. When I input 0, I output 1. It's crossing the y-axis at 1. Okay, we'll identify our last point at the end. So if I go over here to my graph, I see that I already have my axis of symmetry going through 2. Remember, that's a dotted line. That's x equals 2. From there, I can plot my vertex. My vertex should be right on that dotted axis of symmetry line. So 2, negative 3, I'm going to do that in a different color, is right there. That's my vertex. What else do I have? I have my y-intercept, 0, 1. This point on the y-intercept should be on the y-axis. If it's not, you've done something wrong. Just like your vertex should be on the axis of symmetry. Now, how did we find that third point when we were doing standard form? Well, we looked at where it's hitting this point here. And if we look, we're going 2 to the left. This is 1, 2 to the left from the axis of symmetry. So I'm going to go 2 to the right, and I'm going to make a point. What is that point? It's 4, 1. So our other point that we have now is 4, 1. Okay, 3 points is all you need to make your parabola. And there we have them. And you've graphed. It opened up just like we said. It's always good to plot or identify these points. It just helps if you label them so you can see what you did. And there you have it. Okay, let's try one more. We should have enough time before this part of the video ends. It says graph f of x. And of course, I'm changing it again. Yours is probably right, but just in case, double check. This is going to be f of x equals 8 times x plus 1 squared minus 2. What does a equal? A is whatever's in front of the parentheses. So a is 8. It's positive, it opens up. Again, a parabola that opens up means the vertex is a minimum. I'm going to identify my vertex, my HK first, and then I'll go back and do my axis of symmetry. What is my H? That's my H. What is my K? That's my K. When I write my vertex, it's the opposite of H, which is -1, and K. Okay. Now to do my axis of symmetry, it's x equals H. So in this case, x equals -1. Good. Now, my y-intercept, how do I get that? I plug 0 in for x. So I get the f of x, I'm rewriting the equation, equals 8 times the sum of x and 1 squared minus 2. So I get the f of 0 equals 8 times 0 plus 1 squared minus 2. So the f of 0 equals 8. And what's 0 plus 1? It's 1. You're only squaring that 1. Don't do 8 times 1 and square it. Square the 1 and then we'll multiply it by 8. So 1 squared is 1. 1 times 8 is 8. And 8 minus 2 is 6. So we're going to get the f of 0 equals 6. When I input 0 for x, I output 6 for y. Okay, we're ready to do some more graphing. Let's get my ruler. My ruler is making my axis of symmetry. Where is my axis of symmetry? It's at -1. It's a dotted line. Nice. X equals -1. From there, I'm going to plot my vertex. Remember, my vertex should be on my axis of symmetry. So -1, -2. From there, my y-intercept should be on the y-axis. It is 0, 6. How did I get, how many spaces over from the axis of symmetry does it take to get to that point? It takes 1. This is 1 unit. So now I'm going 1 this way and I'm making a point. What is that point? It's -2, 6. Remember, if it's symmetric, you just go the opposite direction the same amount. And there you have it. Okay. That's good for that. So I'm going to stop this and we're going to finish our last form, which is the factored form. I want to show you this form. We will probably only practice standard and vertex form, but it's good to know that there's another form called factored form. So I'm going to go ahead and stop this for a minute.